I'm Mandi, DIY enthusiast, and today I am going to teach you how to make a fluted coffee table. It is such a fun way to add instant pattern and texture to literally any surface. The style of this coffee table is a little bit Scandinavian, a little bit retro, a little bit modern, kind of all mixed into one. I'm gonna teach you how to measure and cut a perfect circle. We're gonna cut our legs and attach the dowels to it, assemble it all together. No one is going to believe that this is a DIY project. The first thing that we're going to build is our tabletop. So this is 3/4 inch maple plywood. I am obsessed with the grain pattern on this piece of wood. I think it is so beautiful. My plywood is cut to 4 feet by 4 feet because that's like roughly the size of my tabletop. You can have your sheet of plywood cut down to any size. They will do that at your local hardware store. If you've ever tried to draw an oversized circle, you know it can be really, really frustrating. I have a really great hack for you. So what we're going to do, we're going to start with our tape measure, and we are going to find as close to the center of our plywood as possible. So 48 inches. So I'm going to mark this at 24 inches right there. 24 inches right here. So right there, that's the center of our plywood. The next step is to take a nail that has a pretty substantial head on the top. You don't want your string to be slipping off when we are tracing our circle. I'm not setting the nail all the way through the plywood. I'm just setting it deep enough that it's not going to wiggle when I put a little bit of pressure on it. So this is a piece of scrap wood. Have a little bit of a hole drilled in it right there. And what I'm going to do is use this block as a stabilizer for my pencil. So what's gonna happen, I'm gonna stretch my string, put it through, and then it will go around my pencil like this, and then I'm gonna hold it in place and walk around the coffee table. So the string that we're using to stabilize our pencil as we're drawing is masonry line. It's really, really, really important to not use string that stretches. So I'm gonna just pull like a good length of it off because we're gonna knot it and we can remove the excess easily. And I'm going to fold it in half, feed it through. I'm just gonna knot this secure enough that when I pull tension on it, it's not going to come undone. So this is gonna go around our nail, just like this. In order to figure out where the block needs to sit on our line, I am going to measure from my nail out. So I want my table to have a 36-inch diameter top. Half of 36 is 18. This mark right here is where I want the tip of my pencil to rest when it is secured against my block. So I'm gonna pull my string out. I'm gonna hold my pencil right in place, and I'm gonna knot the string right there. When I hold my pencil up and it is nice and tight against my block, the tip of the pencil hits my mark exactly. So now this is how the magic block works. Put your hands on the block and pull it a little tight, and then you just go for like a little walk. So you want to make sure that you have even pressure. Okay, so the next step, now that we have our perfectly drawn circle, we're gonna pull out our nail. And now it's time to start making our cuts. The first thing that I'm gonna do is take my jigsaw and I'm going to make some cuts that run perpendicular to my circle. That way when I cut around here and I start at this cut and I end at this one, I can just take this piece off and I'm not trying to manage cutting a perfect circle and this like giant floppy piece of scrap wood. So the saw that I'm going to be using to make this cut is a jigsaw. Jigsaws are perfect for making rounded cuts because they just have a really small singular blade. So you can really get in there and do some cool shapes. have my extra cuts that are almost to my circle, not all the way because I don't want to accidentally cut an extra little chunk out of it. So now I'm going to take my jigsaw and I'm actually going to start over here and I'm going to slowly come in and go around my circle. I'm going to repeat this through the whole circle. An important thing to remember when you're using a jigsaw is to let the saw do its work. You don't want to put too much pressure or force on it because that makes it harder to follow your line. It looks so good. Guys, look at our circle. I mean, there might be a few spots that need to be sanded smooth. That happens to the best of us. Do not try and use your jigsaw to smooth them out because you will just make it worse. Use a sander, smooth your edges, and then you're good to go. The next step is to build our really chunky round legs. The base that I'm using for my legs is a concrete form. This is basically a giant cardboard tube. It's really lightweight and it's really, really strong. So to make my legs, I'm going to cut this down to the correct height. My couch is 14 inches tall, so I am going to make my legs 16 inches. I'm gonna mark my tube all the way around. This is my guide as I'm using a jigsaw to cut this out. Look at how good this looks. So I have 4 more to cut for my legs, and then we're gonna attach our fluting. Okay, 5 tubes cut. Now let's move on to our fluting. I went with 1/2 inch half rounds because I want it to mold to our circle. So I am going to cut all of my half rounds to the exact same height as my tubes, and then we are going to attach them. Now I'm gonna use my miter saw to cut them all down. Setting a jig is the most simple way to mass produce the same cut over and over and over. So to set a really simple jig, I'm using a piece of scrap wood and a clamp. And I'm just gonna clamp it into place on my saw. I have my mark that I made on my molding. I have my jig set so it is exactly 16 inches. All I have to do is slide my molding over so that it is hitting the jig. And then look at how easy this is. They are exactly the same size. All right. So let's cut 500 more. In order to determine how far around your form you need to place your dowels, we are going to pull in all of my forms. We only need to put dowels on the outside of our forms because that's all you're gonna see. So I'm just gonna mark on one of them where the dowels need to end. But now I know I only need my dowels to go from this mark all the way around to this mark. And that's gonna allow all of our tubes to sit nice and flush with each other. We're not gonna have any gapping. All right, let's do it. We are using a hot glue gun. We are gonna start our dowels on this side. So I'm gonna pull my dowel. This guy has got to be straight. It's like critical importance. We're gonna set it on our mark, and then I'm going to use a level because if for some reason it is not straight, every single dowel on this form will be crooked. Okay, nice and level. So then I'm gonna press it. My first dowel is glued in place. It is perfectly level. So now I can just build off of this. I don't have to even worry about using a level again. We're getting enough dowels on that you can start to see the fluting texture come out. I love it so much. The rounded edge just makes it a little bit softer than if we were doing it with just like slats or a flat surface. It just feels really special. Okay, last one. It looks so cute. All right, so I'm gonna do my other 4 legs and then we're gonna join them all together. All of our legs are built and we're gonna put them all together. Oh my gosh, it's the moment of truth. This is the best part of a project. So once everything is like nested and nice and tight, we can connect our forms on the inside, right here where they meet. And I'm just using a nail to poke a small hole through my tubes so that when I separate it, I know exactly where my drill needs to go. One down, 2 down. You can see my hole goes all the way through. That's where we're gonna set the bolt. And then I'm gonna flip it over and do the other side. All right, so I am just using a really short bolt with a hex nut and some washers to hold it in place. And then I'm just gonna tighten it down. All right, let's do the other side. So I am doing the top and the bottom of our legs because we want it to be really, really sturdy. So this is just stabilizing and securing everything really well. Our bolts are holding it together nice and strong. So good. This is gonna be a really, really sturdy table base. So I'm gonna get my other ones done and then we're gonna put it all together. It's so cute. All right, time to paint. So my tabletop is beautiful maple. My base is a little bit more yellowy pine, and I don't love how they're looking together. So I mixed a little bit of paint with some water, and I'm gonna do a really quick wash on the base just to soften the yellow tone and kind of disguise some of that really heavy grain. So I'm just brushing it onto my base. Then I'm gonna take a cloth and go back over it and wipe it off. So you can see how you can still see the grain. It still looks like wood. It's just not as aggressively yellow. All right. This whitewash turned out so beautiful. In order to attach our tabletop, I am going to be using these L brackets. We're setting 2 inside each of the legs. So I'm just marking where the holes in my bracket sit. And then I'm gonna use a really small drill bit to drill a pilot hole. This is gonna make it so our screw goes in really easily and we don't have to worry about splitting our wood. All right, our L brackets are going against the bottom of our tabletop. I'm just measuring from the outside of my base to the edge of my tabletop to make sure that my legs are centered. All right, my legs are centered. As much as I wish I could use a drill to set the screws into our tabletop, unfortunately, they don't make drills that small. So I'm just using a screwdriver and some screws and I'm gonna hand set them. It takes a little bit of time to manually tighten everything, but it is worth it. Almost done. I'm so anxious to get this flipped over. It's so cute. The last thing that we need to do before we can move this really great table into my living room is finish the top of it so that it's protected from life. So I'm just using Danish oil. Danish oil is a really easy to use finish. You literally just wipe it on. The wood absorbs it and it protects our beautiful maple. See how it just brings the wood to life? I love it. Danish oil is your best friend if you love the look of raw natural wood, but you maybe need a little bit more protection. Okay, I need to step back. Oh, it looks so good. Time to move it inside. My perfect coffee table does exist. I just had to DIY it. I love how our warm maple top looks with this whitewashed fluted base. This thing looks like $1 million. Who would have thought that we built this out of cardboard and hot glue? I've done a lot of fluting in my days. I think that this piece is my favorite.